The gentleman from Colonial Heights, Mr. Cox.
Speaker, point of personal privilege.
Gentleman has the floor.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to lay out a little bit about some of the House Republican policy initiatives that will be coming up this year. One of the things we've really prided ourselves on this side of the aisle, and I think for a long time, is really being policy-oriented. I would dare to say that a lot of the really good stuff and legislation that's come out of this House, working together with the other side of the aisle, has been initiated not by the governor's office on either side, but by the legislature. So let me first of all do a quick retrospective. If you look back on 2015, it started off very well. We adjourned a day early. Remember, we had a budget that our chairman and vice chairman, I think, did a great job with, and not only had a surplus, but we also made some fundamental structural reforms, such as in VRS. Thank you, Scott. I don't know what's wrong with the rest of you. We funded a teacher pay raise. You're warming up to me. The second teacher pay raise in the last 3 years. We also gave all state employees a well-deserved pay raise. And we prepaid $130 million in the rainy day fund deposit. As far as higher ed goes, that's an area we've worked very hard on. We capped exorbitant student athletic fees. Thank you. We encouraged colleges to offer affordable flat fee degrees, and we invested in additional in-state tuition slots. So that was last year, but what are we going to do this year? I think we have some very good things. This, first of all, talking about strengthening Virginia's economy. Governor McAuliffe, in his State of the Commonwealth address, painted a fairly rosy picture of Virginia economy, and I think we have some challenges. First of all, we've heard many times our economy registered 0% growth in 2014. We've fallen to 12th in the CNBC rankings. And I will say this, I think the last few governors have done a good job in economic development. However, one of our jobs is oversight. And I think Delegate Garrett laid that out very well yesterday. And that's something I think we're going to have to really take a look at. If you look at what happened in Appomattox County, we need renewed vigilance. That's $1.4 million worth of Governor's Opportunity Fund that just seems to have gone away. We used a consulting firm, and I think it's probably about the 12th time we've used that firm, that obviously misled us in a lot of different ways. So one of the things we're going to do upstairs this year on the 9th floor is we're going to demand that when economic development projects are done, there's a strategic roadmap, that we actually know where we're going. Everybody has a new idea. And they stamp STEM, they stamp workforce, they stamp sort of the word of the day, and we're supposed to do it. And one of the things we're really going to do is make sure that what we're funding is responsible and moves Virginia forward. How about our plan for jobs? We want to strengthen our economy and create good jobs, and that'll be a top priority. Let me mention some of those. First of all, enshrining our right to work law in the state constitution. That's HJ 2. Delegate Bell is putting that in. We're going to continue to try to make progress on the accelerated sales tax and on VRS in the budget. Delegate O'Quinn has House Bill 2, which I think is extremely important, standing up to President Obama's job-killing carbon rules, which could mean $6 billion in higher energy costs for families and businesses. And Delegate Byron has a bill that works with workforce credentials, which I think is essential, but she's doing two things which I think are a little bit different. A little bit of money follows the student, and on the back end, some accountability so we make sure that our hardworking students actually have that credential in place. And so I'm looking forward to working on that legislation with Delegate Byron. We also have done a lot on the tax side. Since 2003, we've defeated 26 separate tax increases that would have cost Virginia families $30.2 billion. That's worth clapping for. There are several new job-killing mandates being proposed on small businesses. The House and the Republican side of the aisle will fight those proposals. Delegates Yancey, Ransom, and Leftwich all have introduced legislation which would give much-needed regulatory relief to small business across Virginia, and I thank them for that. Of course, education, which I briefly mentioned, is also a top priority. In this year's agenda, re-benchmarking will mean a significant new investment in K-12 spending in the order of around $420 million. And I think Governor McAuliffe has made a good faith effort to start us off in K-12 and try to put back some of that funding. I think one of our goals, though, has to be, how can we make sure when that money goes back that a lot of it doesn't require very onerous local matches for our localities, which puts either further strain on them. So we'll be working on some solutions in that area to give more flexibility to our localities. We have other good proposals. Delegate Dickey Bell has been working for several years on a Virginia virtual school system, and we want to finish the work on that. Delegate Rob Bell has worked very hard on a constitutional amendment to establish more charter schools, something that President Obama agrees with. So Delegate Bell and President Obama like this. Other states have started to pass parental choice education savings accounts. This is a very innovative way, I think, to empower parents, and Delegate Rock has that bill this year. And in higher education, we can make even further progress. The big catchword is access and affordability. One of the things we're going to do is make financial aid make more sense, where we just don't throw financial aid out there, that we reward students to move up from their freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year, giving them more financial aid, incentivizing them to stay in school, incentivizing retention. We're also going to do more with the JLARC recommendations we had several years ago to make sure that our colleges are spending our money efficiently, which is very important. In healthcare, the minority leader and I have had this discussion for probably 2 years now. But obviously on this side of the aisle, we feel very strongly that Medicaid expansion is not the route to go. I've articulated that and why that is so for several sessions. This year, we seem to have a new way of doing it, a bed tax on hospitals. We see that, once again, as gimmicky, is sort of a bait and switch. And that is something that, to me, is not workable. If you look back at even President Obama's budgets earlier on, he actually has already attempted to take money away from that particular vehicle of funding Medicaid expansion. And let me also point out, if you look at the recent JLARC report, we still had up to $38 million in taxpayers' money was wasted on ineligible recipients of Medicaid. So we have a lot of reform that I know Delegate Landis is working on in that area. We have tried to invest in the safety net, and we've had many speeches on that. We've done great work with PAC teams. We've done great work with drop-off centers. I think you can see the side of the aisle continue to do that. Other reforms, such as COPN reform, we have a lot of different people working on that. Delegate Barron, O'Bannon, Peace, Bell, Stolley have all introduced legislation to try to reform that system, which I think is very important. So let me conclude with this. Long speech, Mr. Speaker. We have a big agenda, and there'll be a lot of other items we'll be working on. You'll see a bill very soon to finish up the second state Veterans Care Center that we've worked very, very hard on. So obviously that'll be another issue we're working on. So I look forward to not only working with folks on my side of the aisle, but working with folks on the other side of the aisle to push through some, I think, these very great agenda items for Virginia. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.